underlined by Thomas. So a good friend of mine, when I worked for Stantec, we were doing a raffle foundation for they knew they couldn't do one. So what they did is they did a raff foundation. So it's just a great big chunk of concrete, right? Huge. Anyways, they were starting to do some, they did a little bit of drilling in that spot. What's the best way to do it? What you're going to have to do is, as you excavate that hole, start dropping the stuff into that hole to try and fill it up with rock and debris that you've got there. But everything, they dug a hole, I swear to God, it was 150 feet by 60 feet. Everything that they dug out of a 60-foot hole went into the hole. Backfill. The spread. Eventually, they had everything, they had enough fill in there that they were actually able to pour concrete in there. So, but otherwise, they would be pouring concrete till next week and not filling up the hole. It was a mess. But nobody had told, like this guy who was in charge, his name was Ted Silence. Ted said,
Look at that mountain. That mountain.
Sabi ko sa inyo dun.
The wind's still there.
Kabila. There we go.
Like it? Yeah.
Sundan namin yung maliit.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing?
Good?
Yeah, good.
A week. Everybody in a good mood?
Yeah.
All right. Anybody in a bad mood? Yeah. You've been in the city too long. Welcome to the mountains, where we're always in a good mood. And pretty interesting day. A little of everything. So we don't know what to expect. You guys that have the outside seats, you're a bit committed, but as part of the adventure, remember that. If it starts to rain or something, we'll do our best to accommodate. Very busy afternoon going into our long weekend coming up starting tomorrow. If you think it's busy here today, stick around. Stick around till tomorrow. You'll be lucky to get a parking spot on those long weekends. Certainly our busiest time of the year, any long weekend through the summer months. So welcome aboard the Miss Waterton, the name of the vessel. She's certified and inspected through Transport Canada annually. Licensed to carry on this vessel 128 adult people, 128 passengers, pardon me, 125. 128 adult life jackets on board. Those are located under your seats in the main cabin and on the upper deck in the forward locker. We also have first aid kits up here at the helm with the children life jackets. We have fire extinguishers throughout the vessel located in strategic locations. Fire axe, fire hose, fire buckets, life rings, life slings on the upper deck. And I guess the most important safety feature of any boat, I think it is, whatever gets us. Most important thing on the safety. Fire extinguisher off fire at sea, that's pretty bad. Captain, we got one of those. He's in a good mood. Just watch the Titanic movie. Life rafts. When you get off this thing, if she goes down, we have two Zodiac and 7. lots of questions. Keep your toes. And my name's Steve. Providing you with a interpretation of the area as we make our way down to the international border. We're going to be Glacier National Park. Make a U-turn there and make our way back here. It's a good entertainment. If not too bad and too late. Right. Captive audience. Those 2 months and the rest of the year. So get ready. Be a busy summer for sure. Winter time, 50 people reside in that town. It's a year-round population. Up here in the winter time, it's really the opposite. You're more close to yourself. 2 hotels to remain open. It's a destination location. It's the end of the road. There's no road that goes through here. That fire was started by lightning in British Columbia. You can see Alberta border is only about 8 miles to the right-hand side, which is also publicly commented about. It was in the Akamina-Kishina Wilderness Provincial Park in BC on a mountain called Keenan. 2017 was an incredibly dry season. Hiking about a week before that fire started, thinking to myself, man, just a spark would set this place ablaze. It was so dry that last time we were hiking boots, pine trees turning yellow from lack of water. And sure enough, a week later, that lightning strike on Keenan Mountain. Now, when discovered, it was about 5 acres in size. But it was in a remote place. And policies in parks like this are to let natural fires burn if they are not threatening So each to the Chicago workers, because we don't have the winds and the dry conditions that year. Sure enough, it was the morning of September 11th when the winds picked up to around 80 kilometers an hour. 50-mile-an-hour winds sustained, causing that fire to crown, to move across the treetops and burn down to the forest floor and take the grass fire. It was moving faster than we are now at times. And over the course of that 24-hour period, the Keenan fire consumed 70% of our walked up one side of these mountains and down the other. So ask yourself, how did they save the town site? Because the fire came right out of that valley behind town. It's the Akamina Valley where you drive up to Cameron Lake. 80K winds. The town site did not stand a chance. Had it not been for the efforts of the firefighters that remained behind after the mandatory evacuation. About 250 of them. 40 souls have risked their lives to save them. They were prepared in this case. Where Jasper last summer, they didn't in anticipation and preparation of that fire's arrival, they set up large diesel pumps along the shore of this lake, sucking water through large intakes through high pressure sprinklers, soaked the foliage at the base of Alberta for several days before that fire approached. That's what saved the town site, to create a wet buffer. So the fire pretty much stalled out right behind the town site. It was raining fireballs over the community, so they were going around finding those spot fires and extinguishing them. Through their efforts, we did not lose one building on the town site. That's pretty miraculous. Yeah, absolutely. We always say hats off to those folks. The State of Prince of Wales are about 98 years old this year up on the hill behind us. Calgary Fire Department came down with their ladder trucks, monitors, and they were soaking that building as the fire burned through. The Waterton Lakes Golf Course lost their shop. Nice shop, built in the late 90s. It had an apartment on the top for the superintendent to live in. And inside of that shop, all the lawn care equipment, all the golf carts, and suits. And that FEMA park. Ironically, about 50 feet away, the 1950s clubhouse. Covered in silver. Alpine riding stables, they lost everything, where you rent the horses. On our East Park boundary had 20 minutes to evacuate as it turned into a grass fire. The Rocking Heart Ranch lost everything, homes and barns, corrals and fences. But no lives lost, the good news. Forest fires are bad for people, property, our assets, our air quality, our life. Good for the forest. Forest need to burn. And most of that forest has not burned in recorded history. So it's definitely waiting to burn. Forest fire takes away the canopy, allows sunlight to penetrate to the forest floor where it was unable to before. 2018, those slopes were black. It's pretty sad. There was no insects, no mammals, no birds. There's no habitat. Look at it now. It's been remarkable. It's been a real treat to watch it recover over the past, I guess, almost 8 years now. That's all new vegetation from the shoreline to the tree. That is habitat to the 60 mammals that reside here. It is prime habitat. Forest fires open up immense habitat for wildlife. Forests run in cycles. The cycle that forest is in is rebirth, regeneration. It'll come back. Take a few human lifetimes. So you can see a line where that forest fire is suppressed. Some of the only old growth forests left here in Waterton off to our left. Not just what you can see. There's another mountain to the east named Mount Sofa. So from here to the east park boundary and behind to that part of the north park boundary. We're pretty much straight across to the west boundary, and straight behind us to the north park boundary. We have quest to find trees, the groups of trees that survived that Greenland fire down. This forest over here hasn't been recorded history. And it's not a matter of what performance, it's a matter of when. If you live in a forested area, it's always on your mind in the month of August, especially around here, which we've actually renamed Smogus. Smogus, it seems like the new norm, doesn't it? I grew up around here, and I don't remember a lot of smoky summers. I remember 88, when the Yellowstone fire, we got smoke coming through here. I think it was in the early 90s, we had the Red Bench fire in Glacier Park, and that was definitely filling this valley with black smoke and soot and ash. Embers coming down out of the sky. Pine beetle, yeah, I'll talk about that in a bit. I'll save it just for a little later on. We get into a pine forest. Pine beetle. So over here you got spruce and oak, mature climax dominant forest that will eventually replace pine trees that go back first into a hill. Mount Vimy on the left, named after the Battle of Vimy Ridge in France in World War I. Canadian soldiers captured Vimy Ridge, where others had failed to do so. Really the beginning of Canada as an independent nation, with a great loss of lives. And so to commemorate all that, we have named this honorably Mount Vimy. How many of you like to hike? Hikers, all right. Put up your hand, be proud. Look around, like 10 people put up their hand, 100. And that's a typical response, don't feel bad. How many of you like to go for a walk? I hate to tell you this, but it's the same thing. It's just walking. Walking in the woods. If you like to hike, this is a premier place, and it's the best thing to do. So yeah, you can see a boat dock here on the left. Talking about hiking. This is a very popular hiking trail. The trailhead to the Crook Lake hike. That hike is, well, it's all day for sure. According to people that I talk to that have the fancy watches that count your footsteps, you get between 34 and 37,000 steps in one day up there and down. 5.5 miles one way. 8 kilometers and 2,300 feet or 700 meters uphill. Certainly, if you're not in good shape and you partake in a hike like that, you're going to know about it. right? How do you get in good shape? Do a hike like that once a week, you'll be surprised. First one kills, it hurts. You get the shin splints and you pull quad muscles. Some people say, I'm never doing that again. And you start looking at your pictures thinking, that was one of the best days of my life. I'll go again. This is the Cripps Lake Trail. It's rated very highly by National Geographic. It's one of the most thrilling day hikes